Hello, everyone, and welcome in to Fridays with Phil. I'm Phil Mayo, and I would like to share with you 5 minutes of biblical insight to help you along the way. If you enjoy the contents, please be sure to subscribe. This week, we're beginning a new series called Reading Revelation Right. In this series, we'll look at the New Testament book of Revelation in order to understand more clearly what Revelation has to say to us today. Whenever I teach the book of Revelation, I often ask my students this question: when was the last time you heard a sermon on the book of Revelation? Most of the time, they can't remember one. I find that to be a sad commonality among Christians. In my experience, people tend to avoid this book or are, quite frankly, afraid of it. Why is Revelation so hard to understand? The first place to begin when looking at the book of Revelation is genre. That is, the type of literature it is. It stands to reason that all literature is not the same. Poetry differs from prose, just like the Gospels differ from the epistles of Paul. Scholars call this a genre hermeneutic interpretation based on the type of literature. So what type of literature is Revelation? The first chapter actually offers us some clues. Revelation is addressed to 7 churches in the ancient province of Asia in the Roman Empire and opens like an epistle similar to Paul's. While we do know that Revelation was sent from one location to another, its affinity with the epistolary genre pretty much ends there. Revelation also identifies itself as a prophecy, and we know that the writer John is deeply indebted to the writings and the style of the Old Testament prophets. So yes, Revelation is a prophetic book, and how and to what extent we'll have to wait until a later discussion. Does Revelation belong primarily to the prophetic style of literature? I would say no. Where do we turn then for an answer? The clue is actually in the first Greek word of the book, apocalypsis. It translates into English as apocalypse. Revelation is apocalyptic literature. What does that mean? Revelation is a genre of literature that was quite common during its time. Jewish writers have been producing apocalyptic literature for hundreds of years. Our problem is that we don't see this type of literature anymore, and there are a few examples in the Bible. The second half of Daniel in the Old Testament comes the closest. C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia might be the closest modern work with its talking lion Aslan, who represents Christ, but even that is a poor representation. This is partly why Revelation is so hard to understand. There are a number of common characteristics of apocalyptic literature. It's written by a person who receives messages through an angel in the form of visions and dreams. The visions have an otherworldly perspective and deal with a future that lies in eternity. Apocalyptic literature uses bizarre imagery to deliver its message. This last characteristic is key to understanding Revelation. Apocalyptic literature rarely says anything directly, but communicates in imagery. Nearly everything is symbolic. A helpful illustration might be what you would see at an art museum. Artworks often carry deeper meaning than appears on the surface that the casual observer misses. However, someone who is knowledgeable in art or knows something of the artist sees in the choice of subject, colors, and brushstrokes the deeper message. Revelation is a lot like this. Revelation contains imagery full of meaning that reflects a time and place far removed from us. However, with a little time and some deeper study, the meaning can often be unlocked. This is the beginning to understanding the book. While all of this might make Revelation seem challenging, it does not make it impossible to understand. If God didn't intend for us to understand it, He wouldn't have communicated it. This isn't to say that we will know it all, but with the help of the Holy Spirit, we can understand much of it. Next week, we'll continue on this journey of reading Revelation right. I hope you'll join me. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below. Thank you, and God bless you.